The temperature may have cooled here in the UK. Inflation, though, only getting hotter. The country now faces prices more than 10% higher, 10%, think about that, than a year ago. Now, it's the first time inflation has hit double digits in 40 years. Inflationary pressures are also moving beyond energy into food costs. Now, let's get more from Bloomberg's Lizzy Burden. Lizzy, if you break down the numbers, good morning, first of all, but if you break down the numbers, it's really like second-round effects. Energy goes up, and so everything you make and consume goes up.
Exactly. Food was actually the biggest contributor, which means that the poorest households are going to be hit the hardest by this. But it is also broad-based, as you say. Recreation and culture were the next biggest contributors. And that's worrying for the Bank of England because it indicates that this is going to last longer. So Bloomberg Economics has changed its base case. It now sees 50 basis points in September, following up on that jumbo hike in August. And that's catching up with markets, but I expect other economists are likely to follow as well. This is double digits. It beats economists' expectations, but not only that, we're not even at the peak yet. The Bank of England had seen more than 13% in October. If we're already in double digits, perhaps it'll be even higher.
Yeah, so what does this mean for the leadership contest? Again, we remind all of our international viewers that this is not a general election. This is basically Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak speaking to 160,000 Conservatives that will vote for them.
Yeah, so they had more hustings, Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss, yesterday in Scotland, and they were pressed on Labour's proposals to continue the windfall tax and freeze energy bills. Rishi Sunak says he wouldn't do that, but he would target support at the poorest households. Liz Truss says she doesn't want to throw money at a short-term fix, but she went back to the tax cuts that she's already proposed. So really, if Rishi Sunak can reframe the debate to focus on energy, perhaps he can close the gap a little that we can see in the polls, because Liz Truss does seem to be winning the argument when it comes to tax cuts in the minds of this very small electorate that are picking the next Prime Minister.
Lizzy, what does this all mean for the Bank of England? I know you touched on it a little bit, and I know a lot of the times they get a lot of pressure and say, well, you're way behind the curve. But actually, given where we are now, I guess those, if they started hiking rates like 6 weeks before they did now, how much of a difference would that have made?
Well, they've said that they're prepared to act forcefully again. This is likely, as Bloomberg Economics says, to force them into another jumbo hike. Look at the jobs data yesterday. The labour market might be cooling, but it's still red hot. But there is, of course, the recession risk. It's very easy to criticise the Bank of England for being behind the curve, but it sees a long, shallow recession as a consequence of these hikes. Perhaps that's a bit too gloomy because of the unconfirmed fiscal policy, which, of course, it can't take account of. But it's a very difficult line the Bank of England is treading right now.